I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com, the WNW 434 for Friday, June 5th, 2020. They're making it up again, folks. A false narrative. And I wanted to go into this myself, but I found a better way to explain the false narrative. There's been a lot of people out. Larry Elder, fantastic about this false narrative. Black people are being oppressed by the police. The crime stats. Tucker Carlson was out this week, did a fabulous job. But I want to point you to Candace Owens. She is dynamite. And she, on her YouTube channel, this is my title, Candace Owens says, George Floyd, a martyr for fake narrative. Now, follow along. This is her quotes. I'm giving you her quotes. She comes out and she talks a lot about George Floyd, about his many arrests, his drug charges, how they found drugs in his system. I say, listen, just like Eric Garner, now he shouldn't have died the way he did, and either Floyd shouldn't have died with somebody's knee on his neck. That shouldn't have happened. That's that good police arrest procedure. But George Floyd was resisting arrest. The videos you don't see is that he was put in one side of a car, he jumps out on the other side of the car, and they're trying to restrain him. And listen, at no time can you ever say, hey, listen, I don't feel like being arrested, Mr. Police Officer. Don't arrest me. And the police go, oh, okay, I won't arrest you. You ramp up the violence and resist, and they ramp it up higher, and they will defeat you with power and sheer numbers, whatever that their goal is to once they say you're under arrest, they arrest you. He was being arrested for a crime. Candace Owens goes into all this. I put a link on my USAWatchdog.com site in the right through, a link to her 18-minute and 25-second rant. But she says that, listen, this guy is not some upstanding citizen. He's a guy with been arrested and been in jail 5 times and arrested many times. But let's just go into what she says. He's George Floyd, a martyr for a fake narrative. Racially motivated police brutality is a myth, says Candace Owens. 25% higher chance as a violent white criminal of dying at the hands of a police officer than a black criminal. Black community commits a disproportional amount of crime compared to white community. She goes on. This is a fabulous thing she does. She also quotes reports and studies and all that. I'm just cutting through it. She also says black men. Sorry, I messed up my type. I had to fill that in. Black men, 6% are 6% of the population. They account for 44% of all murders in the United States, and also 50% to 6% of black men. 50% of all violent crimes. A police officer is 18 times to be killed. A police officer is 18 times more likely to be killed by a black person than the other way around, she says. This entire narrative is smoke and mirrors, and that is the whole, racially motivated police brutality. This entire narrative is smoke and mirrors. It's all made up. It's just election fodder. It's a white versus black because it's an election year and not because black Americans are suffering at the hands of police officers more than white Americans. She also says, nobody wants to tell the truth in black America. It's so easy to be a victim. It's crap. It's a lie. It's a farce. And she basically wraps up her rant that way. And she does start out and says, nobody should have died the way that, George Floyd died. He said that we've reached a consensus. Everybody agrees on that. I do too. But he was resisting arrest, just like Eric Garner was resisting arrest, so they contributed to their situation. They shouldn't have died, but they contributed to it. 18 minutes and 25 seconds. Go to USAWatchdog.com. It's in the write-up at the very beginning of the weekly news wrap-up for 6/5/2020. It's just fabulous. It sums up the whole thing. It's a false narrative, folks. They're making it up again. I talked to my friend Kevin Shipp, the former CIA officer, brilliant guy, and I said, what's your take on this? He says, it's the last gasp of the violent left to try to knock Trump out. I mean, you're just seeing all, crazy things that are happening. You're seeing that, Mayor Garcetti's going to redirect $150 million and, put it to projects for black communities. He's going to take it away from police. The New York City's talking about cutting the police budget something like $1 billion. I mean, this is outrageous. Now, part of this, I'm sure, is because, tax receipts are, tanking, and no liberal mayor or liberal governor, it seems to worry about how they're going to pay the bills. With nobody earning any real money, I guess they all think they have a real life free button that works all the time. But listen, this thing is going to come to an end. It's going to come to an end with a thud, and I think it's already coming to an end. And this is what William Barr was on live talking about this. I'll give you some quotes here. We have evidence Antifa participated in violent activity, according to AG William Barr. And that, to me, listen, we have evidence Antifa participated. That means we have evidence to charge people. They're going to charge people. I mean, police officers were murdered. Entire livelihoods were lost. Buildings were burned down. Stores the size of Macy's in New York, which is like a city block, square block, looted, while the police officers were told to stand down by Bill de Blasio. And police officers told to stand down by other liberal mayors and wouldn't call up the National Guard and wouldn't have their police officers arrest people. And then when they were arrested, like in St. Louis, the district attorney, let go 400 people who were arrested for looting and burning and curfew violations and all kinds of other things. This is unbelievable. I don't see how this is a vote getter for Democrats in the 2020 election. It's like Hannity had on this week one black attorney who's at odds with Hannity, total liberal, and he is like, we are at lockstep, Miss Hannity, Sean, we are in lockstep that this should not be done. Black businesses and black places where they shop and live are being burned to the ground. Hey, listen, I agree. Is Nancy Pelosi's neighborhood being burned down? Oh, no. Is Schumer's neighborhood being burned down? Oh, no. Are you kidding me? No. Is de Blasio's neighborhood being burned down? Is he getting burned out of Gracie Mansion? No, he had the cops there to run off all these people. Yes, no. The rich Antifa Democrats, the guys pulling the strings here, and the Democrats are in lockstep with Black Lives Matter and Antifa, which, by the way, the president made a terrorist organization. Their houses aren't being burned down. It's just inner city black people. I don't see how that makes black people want to vote for Democrats that throw them to the wolves and then tell the cops to stand down. It's unbelievable to me. But here we have William Barr. We have evidence of Antifa participating in violent activity. We have evidence that Antifa and other similar extremist groups, as well as actors of a variety of different political persuasions, maybe Black Lives Matter, have been involved in instigating and participating in the violent activity. This is all left stuff. These aren't, Proud Boys or, the quote-unquote white supremacists or, the constitutional people or Trump supporters. These are the left, the violent left that want to burn the country to the ground and take it over. We are also seeing foreign actors. Wow, that's a big one. Foreign actors playing all sides to exacerbate violence. You mean like maybe George Soros and all the bricks that magically show up at these locations? I'm sure the FBI is running that down. The fire bombs they're throwing, and here in Greensboro, we had a mattress store we had a peaceful protest downtown. They probably busted out 100 windows. Okay, this is all Democrat-controlled Greensboro, which is total Democrat downtown. Now the city now says they're going to, we're gonna try to help people rebuild down there. Yeah, because you let it happen. The cops push these guys back. I don't know what they were told, but they were busting out all the windows as they were pushing them back down the street. I don't understand what kind of policing that is. But anyway, and there were some in some parts of town that were peaceful. I don't think they have a good case. I don't think there's racially motivated police genocide on black people. I don't. I'm sorry, the numbers aren't there for that. This is unbelievable that we have people like George Soros and domestic and foreign actors involved in this kind of situation. I expect there to be arrests made pretty fast. All the while, this is also going on. People like former Assistant Attorney General Rosenstein is in court, in Congress, testifying, and boy, he's got some explaining to do. There's one charge that say he was going to wear a wire and get, Donald Trump out on the 25th Amendment, that he's crazy, which is what Mattis, which was former Chief of Staff John Kelly, who, by the way, was having an affair with another cabinet member, John Kelly, saying that Trump's memory, anything they could do to trash Donald Trump. And here they're rolling out the deep staters. I think they're seditious, treasonous deep staters. John Kelly is a former general. We have Secretary of Defense Mattis, who thinks Donald Trump is doing a terrible job handling this. Oh, really? So you just think that these people ought to run wild in the streets and burn everything to the ground? That's their goal. They're trying to create as much chaos and anarchy as possible to destroy America so they can take it over. That's what they're doing. That's not a stretch. This is in no way any kind of, commemoration of George Floyd, no matter how much of a martyr or how much of a great guy you think he is, even though he had a long arrest record. He was resisting arrest when his awful demise happened. He shouldn't have died. I'm going to say it again. It was bad police arrest procedure, but he participated. He was part of the reason why that things escalated to that kind of situation. But here we have John Kelly, then former Defense Secretary Mattis, running his mouth, who's basically, I think, instead of Mad Dog Mattis, we're going to call him treasonous Mattis or seditious Mattis. A current Secretary of Defense, Mark Esper, disagreeing with the president publicly. Also saying, I didn't know I was walking across the street from the White House for a photo op. Mr. Esper, do you realize the executive in the executive branch, the only person that matters in the executive branch is the executive, and the executive is the president of the United States. The executive branch is the president of the United States. You don't get to debate the president, and you don't get to make him look bad. You work for him, and you work for we the people. You should step down, Secretary Esper, making the president look bad, undermining the president of the United States during this awful, dangerous, violent riots across America. And you don't think we ought to use the Insurrection Act? It ain't up to you. You want to disagree with the president? Give him a call on the telephone from the Pentagon over to the White House. I'll bet you he'll take your call, you idiot. But, all these negative things coming out, they're rolling them out with the deep state press, puts them all on, the basically Tifa-friendly, compliant legacy media that's going to go out of business, including my local TV stations I used to work for. I called the news director and said that they were, you just did an Antifa compliant, Antifa supporting newscast. Oh, it was mostly peaceful protest. No, it wasn't. But I say they have negative things to say about President Trump because it just reveals the desperation on the part of the deep state globalists. I mean, they're pulling out all the stops. And the other thing these weasels will do is that they will let you die. They will give you misinformation at the AP, at the New York Times, at the Wall Street Journal, at the Washington Post, LA. They will give you incorrect information, for example, about hydroxychloroquine. And they're starting here here's a study that cast more doubt on the malaria drug for the virus, the COVID virus. And I just had to read this right here, which was right here. Here we go. Today's, let me get this, hold on, let me get this, let me get it focused. It's not going to, I'll just read it to you. It says, I didn't even put this up, and here's why. Friday's report in the journal Lancet, the medical journal Lancet, is not a rigorous test of hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine, but it's by far the largest at their use in the real world settings, spanning 671 hospitals in 6 continents. Really? Okay. Well, they had to walk that back. The Lancet, Lancet researchers retract botched anti-hydroxychloroquine study, which was used to attack Trump. The study published on May 22nd in UK's prestigious Lancet Medical Journal relied on bogus data. Bing, 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 bing. They lied to you about a life-saving drug and told you it didn't work when it indeed did. It wasn't just the WHO who used it to knock HCQ, that's hydroxychloroquine, either, as the study was heavily relied upon by the left to mock President Trump for taking the drug and telling people that it was a game changer, and it was. And all the science says it was a game changer. There are all kinds of people being sued by medical associations. There's all kinds of studies about it. It works. Early on, it works. along with what the president said in a press conference, was zinc and, azithromycin, a Z-Pack. And so these lying weasels at the legacy media are willing to misinform you and let you die, rather than tell you and be objective and tell you about all the science about how hydroxychloroquine works. And what did the leader of Spain say? All the world leaders are taking HCQ. They're all taking it, and zinc. Yeah, of course they are, because they know it works. A cure for me, but not for thee. When anybody gets into trouble, like these mainstream media hacks, what do? They get their buddies to go, hey, what works? Well, don't tell anybody, but HCQ works. Don't tell the common little people. We don't care if they die or not. I mean, blood on your hands, legacy media. ABC, NBC, CBS, Washington Post, New York Times. Blood on your hands, CNN. You idiots. You reckless, evil, despicable scum. You get sick, tell your doctor, demand you want hydroxychloroquine and you want zinc and a Z-Pack. This is administered by a doctor. I'm not telling people to do this to themselves. There is tons of medical evidence that show A, it works, and B, the downside risk is about nil. Let's talk about the economy. Surging stock market. You talk about a disconnect from the real world. I mean, we're heading back up to about where we were before this big crash that was predicted by Charles Netter and Bo Pony. How's it going back up? Massive amounts of money printing. I just had Rob Kirby on. He predicted long ago and also in January that at some point the money printing curve is going to go straight up. And what happened since, and this is the stuff they'll tell you about what happened since September, is that the Fed balance sheet doubled. I mean, you talk about going straight up. Boing, what is that, 6 months, 8 months? Unbelievable. They think it'll be a 10 to 11 to 12, $13 trillion. Who knows? That's the official number. That doesn't count all the money, the secret money in the back end. So money printing is off the charts. And so here you have, one of the disconnects. It shows you that I love things in just a short, chart that you could see, and that is unprecedented surge in new commercial mortgage-backed securities. That's CMBS, commercial mortgage-backed securities. Delinquencies heralds commercial real estate disaster. And, here it is. We're just kind of bumping along here at the bottom here, and it just shows you, going back to about, tell you how calm the market's been since the May of 19. So in the last year, this is just pretty good delinquencies. Boing! And that's not going to get fixed anytime soon, folks. Really, that's just a percentage of 7.15, and it's going to go much higher. And you're talking about one of the biggest property owners, mall property owners, is suing Gap. They got 412 stores in their malls, and the Gap just decided not to pay rent. So basically, the landlords, whether it's residential or commercial, are just the big bag holders. People just say, we're not going to pay. And they're being sued, the Gap being sued for $65.9 million, just to show you how things are going. And this is being reflected here in the little news and rag, the little liberal news and rag here, the news and records, which I predict will go out of business sometime in 2021. I have a neighbor who's here on the street that I have. It's about 40 houses on the street, and he's in the middle of the street, and he walks his dog up and down the street, and he says, I've been walking my dog for about 5 years. 5 years ago, there were probably 15, 20 newspapers on the street. He says, do you know how many are left now? I said, no, how many people are left now? Me and you, buddy, that's it. And I think they'll go out of business by the end of the year. I said, what's election year? I think it'll be next year, but we'll see. Because, nobody's going to buy these lies about, hydroxychloroquine and the president's a Russian spy. That was all in here. All kinds of other massive lies over and over and over again. And here we have, I don't know if this is a lie or not, this may be actually true, eviction floodgates about to open. And they're talking about a local story, actually a real local story, that reflects what's going on nationally, and that they've had this 10-week moratorium on people being kicked out of their apartments, on mall rents, on all kinds of rents, mortgages, all that. But that's going to grind to a halt. I know they're going to have another relief package. Are they going to be able to put this off after the election? I don't know. Maybe. Can they bail out everybody? I don't think so. But are they going to try? What's the value of the dollar going to be? And here we have the money printing on a chart, and this is what you know, what you can see, and how it works and how it goes. And this is, just so you know, just to give you a comparison, this chart is, yeah, that's right. Okay, so this is the cost of, this line here represents the cost of commodities, okay? And back here when we had this big spike in 08, 07 and 08, this big spike in the stock market, and this was commodities, it was a 368%. Now, off the average price of commodities, it's 368% higher. Now we have this, and we have it, it's 564%. 564% off what the average commodity price is. So listen, either the techs are way too expensive or commodities are way too low. We have a mismatch. We have an absolutely bubble being blown. And I called Bo Pony about this. He says, listen, I got a new word for this. I mean, this is going to be toxic. Stock's going to end up being toxic. They're going to go up in price, but they won't be worth anything because the dollars they're priced in won't be worth anything. With the money printing that's going on, it's off the charts. He says, listen, we don't have a market. You know, you can't have some people who see the market falling and then they go back in a room and then they print a bunch of money and they buy all the stuff that's falling and it goes up. He says, that's not a market, that's a fraud. I said, well, what do you think what's going to happen in the markets? He says, it's going to go up and down and up and down. In June of 2021, that's when it's going to, my charts say it's going to really tank hard, but you're going to see this thing up and then down and then go back up and then crash and then go back. So, you know, that's going to be the pattern, especially for, you know, going to election and all the Fed money printing. And remember, I've told you that the Fed came out, Kashkari and even Fed head Jay Powell said they were going to, in effect, print to infinity. They were going to do whatever it takes to prop the markets up. Just whatever it takes. Now, folks, they know this is a game of musical chairs. They know when the music stops, most people are not going to have a chair to sit in. So what is their game? They're not fixing it. They're not fixing it. And listen, you should be warned accordingly. That's all I'm saying. I don't have a way for you to make tons of money or short this or buy this or make tons of money. All I'm talking about is reducing your risk and making yourself as robust as possible. And when you see charts do things like this, boom! When you see charts take off like this, whether it's delinquencies or money printing or whatever, you know something is very wrong. And so here we have this big disconnect with tech and commodities, right? So tech's way up here and commodities are just bumping along down here. And here we have another big disconnect with the sky high stock prices. And April factory orders crashed by the most in American history. Now, you know, this chart shows, you know, what happened in 08 and 09, and then it bounced back up. And we're still in free fall here in 2020. But that's not the number to look at. The number to look at is this. And that's the 13% plunge in April for factory orders. That's a monster plunge. And yet the stock market keeps going up. And then we have something from CNBC, auto sales. They plunged 33% in May, set for the worst year since 2009. I don't know how far off auto sales. At one point, they were off, what, 60%? 50%. Auto research firms expect new vehicle sales to be slightly less than 1.1 million vehicles in May, down about 32 to 33% compared to May of 2019. That's a big hit. 32 to 33%. Do, you know, 1 in 3 salespeople at dealerships lose their jobs? Do 1 in 3 people at a dealership lose their jobs? Is it exponential? Is it, you know, 2 in 5? Is it every other person gets laid off? The dealership that I have here, it's a General Motors dealership, and they say that, you know, they have mechanics working a week on, and then they bring back the other half of the mechanics and another week on, and then they lay those off and bring the other ones that were on layoff for another week, and they're on, and then they get laid off the following week. They bring the other. You're getting half salary, folks. You become a high-tech mechanic at a dealership, and they have to be trained and be certified and have all these classes and all this stuff, and they're basically getting half rations. So then you have, that could be roughly 50% increase from the historic collapse in April. I mean, folks, I've been wondering about, how much is going to come back. Yes, things are opening. We had a restaurant in downtown Greensboro, Smith Street Diner. She can't open. The landlord won't cut her a break on 2 months' rent because she had zero business and no takeout business. And she says, and when I do open up, it's a classic diner that's been around for years in Greensboro. And she says, when I do open up, I only have half the tables. I can't make a living that way. So when these restaurants do open up, there are going to be many restaurants that open up and close unless they get relief. And I don't think with Baby Killer Cooper in my state and all the other liberal Democrats, they're not going to get relief because they want to make things as bad as possible. The Democrats want to make things as bad as possible. That is clear. And here's the gasoline demand. If you look at gasoline demand, this is the overall average, whatever. It got all the way down here. Some 60% of demand was destroyed, and then it came back up, and it's about, in the 20% range. And then here we have the actual gallons sold, and, it's back up, it's down 10%. I think this is the yellow line. It's come back some. It's come back about half. Another friend of mine that does data mining has told me that he thinks that, I think we'll get about 50% of the jobs back. I mean, gasoline demand gone down 50% about, maybe a little more, and then it's going to come back up to halfway. We'll still be losing 25% demand. I said, I'm thinking I'm just extrapolating, 50% of the jobs coming back. My friend says, you're dreaming. He says, we're projecting that, he does research. We're projecting 25% of the jobs come back. Folks, do you understand what's happening? The disconnect between the sky-high stock market and what's really happening on the ground? And then we have this idiot Cooper, Baby Killer Cooper, and the reason why I call him Baby Killer, just so you know, is because he vetoed a bill that would protect a live baby that made it through an abortion. Nope, can't have that. Baby Killer Cooper vetoed that legislation that would protect a baby. So if you have an abortion, you don't have to protect a baby. Baby Killer Cooper. And so he basically wrote a letter to the RNC and said, we have to protect the citizens of North Carolina. This is 3 months away. We have to protect the citizens of North Carolina. We can't give you your convention the way you want it. Hundreds of millions of dollars, according to the president, was going to come to Charlotte, North Carolina. And Baby Killer Cooper told the Republican National Committee and the President Trump, to go pound sand. Do you think some Democrats in Charlotte are teed off about that? The flights coming into Douglas Airport, the Uber, the cabs, the restaurants, the hotels, the cleaners, the whole entertainment, the whole thing in Charlotte. You have 50, 80, 100,000 people coming in for the convention in Charlotte, and Cooper, the governor, sorry, we can't guarantee you what you want, so sorry. He ran it off. He killed it. I think he opened the state up for legal action, but, we'll see. I don't know. But that's what, and here we have the newspaper, which paints the whole thing as Donald Trump's fault because it's so dangerous. North Carolina has a 10.5 million people population. Do you know how many people died in North Carolina? 760, less than 800. Do you know what that is in a percentage basis on a population of 10.5 million? Less than 800 people died of this coronavirus. This COVID-19, that's 0.006 something. And he's worried about 3 months from now. A shot in the arm to the Queen City, Charlotte. A shot in the arm, and it's the last big shot in the arm that he's going to get for a monster convention. And nope, he wants to make things as bad as possible for people. And he doesn't care if Democrats suffer either. He doesn't care. It's a political thing. This corona thing, this pandemic, this overreaction, this idea that, protest, something has to change. What, you mean allow black people who are overrepresented in crime stats to be even less prosecuted than they are now? I mean, I don't understand that. I don't understand this hoax of, this racially motivated police brutality, according to Candace Owens. I don't understand this. But yet it's an election year, so, the RNC racist, white people racist. I mean, they want to divide America, and there are people smart enough like Candace Owens and Dr. Ben Carson and Larry Elder and plenty of other black people that are saying, "Hey, enough! How does this help us?" Get this straight, folks. They're not burning down Nancy Pelosi's neighborhood. They're not burning down the Clintons' Chappaqua neighborhood. They're not burning down where Chuck Schumer lives. They're burning down where black people live and shop. That's what they're doing. And while all this with Antifa, which are communist, Marxist, violent weasels, and I hope they all rot in jail after they're arrested, you have the freedom-loving people in Hong Kong that are fighting for their independence, and they're losing it. They had the security bill done. The Red Chinese are cracking down. China's taken over Hong Kong. They've already taken them over. You had, one of the democracy protesters, one of the leaders. He was whisked away with his mother, and a friend went to look for him. He's whisked away, and it's all because, he wanted to, basically remember the people murdered at Tiananmen Square in 1989. Defying Beijing, thousands in Hong Kong hold Tiananmen Vigil, where 10,000 people were murdered. Hey, Mary Barra, you're an idiot building Chevys in red communist China, totalitarian regime where they persecute Christians, where they persecute people who want freedom and liberty. You are an idiot, Mary Barra, and I think you should basically be kicked out of the chairmanship as the CEO of General Motors because you're so stupid. And it's not because you're a woman. You're just stupid. And you ignore the risks of doing business in communist, totalitarian China, where they harvest organs and have concentration camps. Wow, what could go wrong? Mary Barra, CEO of General Motors, building Chevys in communist China. You should be fired. And so while this is going on here, where you have people wanting to push for totalitarian Marxist communism, you have people in Hong Kong who are holding up American flags who understand the value of freedom and liberty. It's unbelievable what's going on in America, but listen, I want you to be informed. I want you to keep praying to Jesus and to God the Father. He hears your prayers. Don't give up. He won't give up on you. I want to make a pitch for the Epic Times. I bought this newspaper. I get nothing for telling you about it. I mean, it's very refreshing. Stuff like, wow, no virus rebound amid Texas and Florida reopening. A story about the new battlefield and irregular warfare. Oh, and here's a great story. A 99-year-old veteran, you won't hear about this in the mainstream media, who beat COVID-19. This is the Epic Times. I went and got it. They have some kind of a deal going on. I get nothing for it. I'm just telling you, there is some reemergence of some real journalism going on, and you should support it, just like you're supporting USAWatchdog.com with your comments and your donations. I really appreciate your support. I do. I have some of the smartest people on the internet commenting on USAWatchdog.com. And again, I thank you for your donations. That helps us out. So just keep in mind this one thing, and I close every newscast this way. And I don't care whether or not I ever go back to the networks. I don't care. I'm competing against them, okay? But this is the line that would surely get me fired, and that is fear not. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all, spiritually. Because God the Father and His Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit are all firmly in control. Again, thank you for watching USAWatchdog.com. Evil wants you to be afraid. Don't be.